All right, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the intro paragraph for your literature response essay. For this particular one, we're doing it for the play 12 Angry Men that we have just read, and we're going to talk about what goes into your introduction paragraph, the first paragraph of your 5-paragraph essay. Now, overall, the main idea for your introduction paragraph is to introduce the general topic of what your essay is about, and then to narrow down to the super specific exactly what you're talking about in your essay. Now, we've already written the exactly what we're talking about in our essay, also known as the thesis. So this introduction paragraph ends with that one sentence that says exactly what your thesis is, which is what your paper is about. Now, just for a little bit of reference, the 3 topics for the 12 Angry Men essay, generally, the first one was about the justice and justice system, how it's either fair or unfair. The second topic was how 3 different jurors have different biases and backgrounds and how that affects their decisions. And the third choice for the essay is about conflicts, how secondary conflicts affect the overall conflict. So, again, for this introduction paragraph, we want to introduce this general topic and then get down to the very specific thesis. So, first part of this paragraph is the hook. Now, for your hook, you have a few different options to choose. Now, the point of the hook is to hook your reader into being interested about your topic before you narrow it down to the thesis and then go on with the rest of your essay. So it's very important you do something interesting and creative. The first kind of hook you can do is you can do a quote. Now, this can be a really good quote that is from the book, or it can be a quote that you Google. But of course, it has to be a relevant quote to your topic. So, if your topic is the one on justice, Google justice quotes. Find out what's going on there. There's a lot of great quotes out there. Or if it's about biases, Google a quote about biases or prejudices or preconceived notions. Or if it's conflicts, you can Google quotes about conflict or quotes about fights or arguments. So, you can find a bunch of different quotes, but if you do use a quote, you have to say who it's by. And not only do you have to say who it's by, you have to Google that person to make sure it's actually a real well-known person. It's most likely going to be a well-known author, a politician, a judge, or a lawyer, or a philosopher, something like that. If it turns out that it's a nobody, it's probably not going to be a good quote. So know who said it, and also know what it means. So when you put your quote in the hook, not only do you have the quote, but have at least 2 to 3 sentences developing or expanding on that quote, saying who it's by, saying who that person is, and the relevance of that quote. Okay, so that's one kind of hook. Another kind of hook is a fact or a statistic. There's a lot of great facts out there about the justice system, about the death penalty, about crime. There's a lot of good statistics about bias and prejudice. There's even some good facts about arguments and conflicts and disagreements. See if you can find a good fact that's relevant to one of those topics. But just like the quote, make sure that you have at least 2 to 3 sentences developing that fact or statistic, showing how it's relevant to your topic. Okay. Another kind of hook is a thought-provoking question or statement. Now, I know you probably come up with a good question about your topic. Maybe a thought-provoking, one that really makes you think. So have a good question that makes you think about justice, like, is our justice system fair? Or you can ask a thought-provoking question about bias. Do you think everyone can make a decision without bias? Now, it doesn't have to be a question, it can be a statement. You can say a statement like, our justice system is broken, or everyone has a bias. Now, as long as you put that thought-provoking question or statement up there, again, have 2 to 3 sentences that develop it. Last kind of hook you can do. This one's the more creative one. It involves putting your thinking cap on. It's the narrative. A narrative is a super, super short story. When I say super short, I mean go 4 to 5 sentences total for that hook if you're doing the narrative. What that narrative is going to do is going to tell a short story, either true or not true. That, of course, is relevant to your topic, whether your topic is justice, bias, or conflicts. For example, you could even talk about that little video that you've watched earlier in the year about how that forensic scientist proved that the accused was not guilty because the defendant couldn't possibly, so the witnesses couldn't possibly see the people doing the crime. So, you can have a short little story about that, or you can do a hypothetical scenario about maybe here you are. You've been just charged with murdering your father. And in the jury box, you see several different jurors. One is looking like he's not paying attention at all and doodling something. One who seems just to be staring at you angrily like he hates all people from the slums. And one who also looks like he might hate young children. How do you feel about your fate in the hands of these men? All right? It can be a short little story. That's your other kind of hook. Now, to get from your hook, where you introduce that topic, and to narrow it down to your thesis, that very specific statement of what you're saying, you need a little something in between to help you transition from this more general to this super specific. You need a little background or a little transition. Again, this is going to be roughly about 2 to 3 sentences in length. And what this simply does, you need to make sure it mentions the author, which is Reginald Rose, and of course mention that title, 12 Angry Men. Again, make sure the title is in italics because it's a book. It's a longer work. Now, but as long as you have those 2 things in, and it helps transition from your little hook to your thesis smoothly, you're good to go. So as long as you have these 3 parts, that makes a decent introduction paragraph for your literature response essay. All right, rock on.